Ta-da! Let's listen some songs here. I think the volume is okay. And there you go. So, welcome to Elixir. In this video, we are going to learn more about LibCluster, but let's talk about the ELX Pro. Here we discuss strategy and tips for your Elixir journey. This is from scratch into your first wave as an Elixir developer. My name is Gustavo, and today we're going to understand why it's so important and essential you install LibCluster in your LiveView applications. So, first, what is the LibCluster? If you check some videos on this YouTube channel, you will see that why you need to understand how Erlang nodes have how to create Erlang nodes connections. And LibCluster is just a library to provide a simpler way to connect nodes. That's why it's so important. And why it's so important as well, it's started becoming so important because when we're talking about applications, actually, some things that we need to consider is that are we going to run our application in only one pod, in just a simple services, or are we going to run our applications, especially in Elixir, in Kubernetes, in the other stuff? Especially if you use Elixir, you probably will have like 3 replicas of your applications. So we need to consider that. And when we are talking about it, uh, why is so important? Because when you have your Elixir application, especially using the live view, you need to create a real-time application, a real-time application. And when we talk about real-time application, especially when we use PubSub and broadcast, when we have 2 applications running, so you probably lost that connection, and I will show you how you're gonna lose this and how I figured that out, and why is that? What is the advantage? What are the advantages of using the LibCluster? So there were some times that I was creating an Elixir application, and when I was creating that, one of the things that was happening is that I was triggering broadcast events, but some application we have that in production and other ones not. So to solve this kind of problem, I was learning LibCluster 4 years ago when we were talking about distributed apps. But I didn't pay attention because that time most of developers who use Elixir was keeping focus on Phoenix REST APIs. So that's why I didn't pay attention so much when you use LibCluster. But now we started having live view applications in production. And because we have live view application in production, it's essential to have and to learn LibCluster because we need to distribute the messages. And when we're talking about distribute messages with LibCluster, it's so simple. If you watch the video when I explain about nodes, this tutorial would be much more simpler for you. So let's start coding. So this is a normal application using Elixir. So when I start this guy, this is a really normal application. We're just going to create a simple page to do that. So one of the things that we're gonna do is create our live view page, which is essential for us now. And this is gonna be pretty straightforward, simple HTML and simple code. Okay. So to do that, let's create our live view page. So right here, I'm going to change this to live. It's gonna be page live, and what we're gonna do is live page live.ex. Now let's create our page. So def module page live use live view, and let's create our HTML. Let's save this guy and check our page. And there you go, we've got our HTML page. So we need to pay attention. I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining how Node works. We've got a video on this YouTube channel, so you can take a look on that. And what we're gonna do is just create a simple account using a live view. So what we're gonna do is just, let's check our nodes. This is pretty straightforward. And now count, I'm gonna say strong count, and count. This is gonna be so simple. And we're gonna have a button here, button, ink, Ajax click, and we're gonna say ink. Ink. I think this is enough for us now to have this button. There you go. We still don't have our account, so it's trying to find that, but we still don't have it. So what we're gonna do is create this count in our page. So this is pretty straightforward. So right here, we're gonna have our mount. I don't care about those informations. Okay, assign socket count, start with 0. There you go. Now our button is gonna be different because two things that you need to understand. So first of all, we're gonna use the pub sub. So phoenix.pub sub. We're not gonna use a handle event. The handle event is just to use the count, but the most important for us is that how we are gonna trigger the event. We're gonna use the broadcast. So now our pub sub is going to be this guy, pub sub. Our topic will be ink. We need to subscribe on that. So if connected socket, we're gonna do what we're gonna do is pub sub dot subscribe on pub sub and topic. This is enough for us. And our handle events that we've created right here, it's gonna be pretty straightforward. We're gonna have like ink. I don't care about params. And what we're gonna do is no reply socket, but we're gonna send a message to, we're gonna use the pub sub to broadcast the message. Pub sub topic, and the event is gonna be ink. It's pretty straightforward as well. Handle event and handle info ink. And what we're gonna do is just update our message. So no reply, update socket count. This is going to be like E1 plus 1. This is more than enough for us. And as you can see, we have our node and we have our count. It should be working now. So what's happening? Unable to, let's check our pub sub. Test app is not a test app web. Give me a second. So what we're gonna do is we've got our inc message. Now I think our pub sub is correct. I didn't fix that. Sorry about that. It's just remove the web. And there you go, it's working. Now when we click, instead of using the handle event, we're using handle info. And what we're gonna do now is starting having like a list of our nodes. I'm gonna show you one thing. This is gonna be very fast. So it's going to be like, in a second, I'm gonna check one more thing. So now we're gonna check our nodes, and to do that, we only need to have a for node at, and one of the things that we need to check is our node list. Let's use this one. I'm gonna say like list, and we're going to check our node. So right here in our app now, we don't have applications here. But how can we do that? Let's check how it works. And one of the things that you need to imagine now, we're gonna use the gossip instead of using like Kubernetes. It's easy. When you understand this way, it's gonna be much more easier to create application using LibCluster with Elixir and Kubernetes. When you understand how to use the gossips is a strategy that we're going to use with LibCluster. And so let's check how to create connection between nodes. So one of the things that we're going to do, this is a normal application using Elixir. If you check here, you're going to see that by default, the port is 4000. I like to use this way. We have runtime.exs, and I like to use this one right here. If we don't have the port, so what we're gonna do is include this variable here, like port. And I'm going to include this guy here, and we're gonna do like ix -- s name. I'm gonna say app 1 -x mix phx server. If you pay attention in my nodes, what's going to happen is we have our application, and I'm gonna execute the same application right here using this strategy. I'm gonna say like port 4001 ix s name app2 phx.server. And there you go. We've got two applications. But now, as you can see, we have our node And if I start this guy right here, but port 4001, we're gonna have different nodes. I'm going to split this one. I'm gonna have this one right here. And I'm gonna have, let me use this one now here as well. And we've got those applications and I need to create a connection between them. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna have this one and I'm going to connect using node.connect. And it's true, we've got the communication. And when we refresh the page, we have the connection. But when we use LibCluster, we have a simpler way to do that. In this case, we should have implemented like a connection between the process ID. For example, I'm going to show you something which is really nice. I don't know if it's going to work. I'm going to try, but I'm not sure, which is, never mind, I'm not going to do that. Maybe just get the process ID and try to send information to this guy. Let me think. I think it's possible. Let's try that. So let's use here some information like self. And I want to increment using this process ID. So didn't work. Gotcha. It's because I didn't use like Erlang pit to list. Let me try that. Both worked. Now I have our process ID. I'm going to try to send a message to this guy. I'm going to try to increment using the application number 2. So this is our application number 2. And this is the process ID that we need to send a message. So I think is address, I think, which is our list. We've got this guy. Let's get this guy, address, send to address, feed. And I'm going to try to send int. Let's check if it's going to work. We have both 0, and let's try to do that. Invalid destination, or I think is feed and add. I don't remember, I think, how to do that. Let me think. I'm going to try that one more time, and then we're going to use the LibCluster, okay? So I think I forgot how to do that. So invalid destination. I don't remember if it's given the argument. Or maybe node. We have our connection. And process to another connection like Elixir. It's gonna be fast, sorry. I think I just forgot the syntax to send that, and then we're gonna use the LibCluster. So I think send after. I don't remember. It's process name. It's a process name. Let's give a process name to this guy. So we have like our PID, which is this guy, let's give a name. I think it's process register head, and I'm gonna say pumpkin. There you go. Let's try to do that. So we have the address and we have pumpkin. And there you go. It worked. So I just forgot to give the process name. But as you can see, I am on app 2 sending message to this guy. This is awesome. I like it a lot. So I can do that easily. But imagine that I can refresh the page, try it again, and etc. And that is not our goal. So one of the things that we're gonna do now is using the LibCluster to do this for us automatically. So this is pretty straightforward to solve. I recommend you to go to, you can search for LibCluster Elixir. To install that, you can just install the app. So we already have this a way to create this communication. And to use this way now, you can just copy the latest version. So you can go to 8EX now. Let's check the latest one. I can just copy that, go to our Mix application, install a new plugin, mixdapps.get, and there you go. Now I'm going to show how to use the gossip way. And also, I strongly recommend you to go back to the documentation and debug and enable debug on LibCluster. Let me check if we have this configuration right here. So let me check the documentation here. Example of configuration. If we don't have that, we can do that by ourselves. I know how to do that, so it's pretty straightforward as well. And one of the things that we need to do is only one config to use the debug. And debug is really nice for us to understand the LibCluster and how it works. So you can go ahead to your config.exs, and one of the things that we're going to do is just like config lib cluster debug. It's true. This is more than enough for us. And now we're not going to use our pages. We only need to create the configuration to use the LibCluster. And that's all that we need, basically. So let's go ahead and create our topology. Apologize. We're going to say ELX Pro test. And in ELX Pro test, we're going to use the strategy. And our strategy is going to be cluster strategy, gossip, config. We're going to say port will be 45892. If underscore address, we're going to use this one, IF address. Our multicast address will be 250, 255. And broadcast only true. And now to configure our pub sub, our LibCluster, you only need to send this information to cluster supervisor and topologies name. And we can say like our name is going to be maybe this one, but ELX Pro. I think this is more than enough. Let's pay attention what's going to happen when we start our application. And as you can see, we have the LibCluster listening, the nodes. And as you remember, we needed to create the connection between them. But now we've got our node, it's okay. But because we have the same application running right here, as you can see, the LibCluster is listening other apps. It works really well when we have like Kubernetes. But when I start another application in different port, as you could see, we created a communication between them. And if you take a look, we have like the connection with app 2 and app 1, and all of them is working now. And as you can see, we have the app 2 right here and app 1, and we didn't need to refresh our page, so which is really awesome. And when I click on here, as you can see, we have a real-time application using the different ports. So I hope you like this tutorial. See you on the next video, and bye-bye.